Do you ever wake up feeling a little bit confused and overwhelmed, and it doesn't really make sense because maybe you've had a lot of success, you've had a few wins, and for whatever reason, things just feel heavy. Maybe there's so much to do, you don't know where to begin, or maybe you don't even know what step next to take. Well, this message today is for you. It's all about how to really move through that sticky feeling of confusion, and then also how to lock back in to success. So I want to tell you a story. October of 2023 was one of the craziest months of my life, and I actually listed out some of the biggest events that came from October. I think it's gonna blow your mind because it blew my mind when I actually sat here and looked at it. So on October the 15th, I completed the 75-day hard challenge. If you don't know what that challenge is, it's 75 days of 2 45-minute workouts, one of which being outside, no alcohol, a gallon of water, 10 pages a day, a diet, no cheating, and I think that's it. But it was a really big deal. In fact, I told someone recently, I'm like, yeah, I just completed 75 hard, and she said, wow, I've heard of people only making it to about day 30. It's a really big deal. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? It is a really big deal that I actually completed it all the way through. So October the 15th, that was check done. October the 13th, we actually had just closed one of our really big launches. It was our final cohort for our School of Sales training program. And that is always like a really big, like a lot of momentum into it. And then when it closes, it's almost like a lot of pressure kind of releases. And we did, I think it was about 400,000 on that launch. We decided to invest in a coach on October the 12th. And that was a $350,000 investment. And that decision, you can imagine all of kind of the brain kind of working in all these different ways, all the thoughts, all the questioning and weighing it out. Can we do this? Can we not do this? A lot of like belief work that went into that as well. We officially made that decision on October the 12th. I believe that was a Thursday, right? And then October the 13th, that Friday is when we closed our launch. We left for Tampa, Florida on October the 15th. Now, this had to do with the investment that we made. So we made the investment on the 12th, and then 3 days later, got on a plane to head to Tampa, Florida to be able to participate in an event that came with the coach investment that we made. And then after that event, we came home and implemented immediately what we learned immediately. And over the next 2 weeks of October, from when we got home, we almost made our $350,000 investment back. In fact, we actually paid off the investment completely in I think October 30th, which was the final day of the month. And I mean, you can imagine the crazy action that took to be able to do that. In fact, we completely changed our business. Like, we got rid of so many things. We cleaned it up. We had to make some really hard decisions, make some really hard conversations, but it was well worth it. And it was a lot of action, to be honest. And then on November the 1st, so November 1st through 3rd, we had an in-person training. I'm actually standing here right now at our training space, and this room was filled with 40 of our sales girls, which we trained in sales skills. Now, November the 4th, this is Saturday, I woke up and I felt different than I've ever felt before, honestly. Take a guess. What do you think I felt? You think I felt excitement or relief or joy? Think that I would feel those things, but I actually felt a huge weight of confusion. I felt so heavy. I felt like almost just like a crazy sense of overwhelm of like, what do I do now? I just went through an entire sprint of crazy amounts of action, crazy amount of changes, crazy amount of thinking, crazy amount of like, honestly, identity changes. And now what? I'm like looking back and forth. What do I do? And I think it's really interesting because, the C word is what I call it. And the C word is confused. I felt confused. And I usually completely rebuke this word from my life. I rebuke it from my vocabulary. I do not even mention it because the word and the feeling of confusion, it's actually an indulgent emotion. And what it means is it's almost like a get out of jail free card. When you're confused, then you can just kind of roll over on your back and say, oh, there's nothing I can do. I'll just wait. I want you to picture being in school and you're working on a question and you're confused. You're like, I don't know that. You raise your hand to ask a question, but the teacher's busy. So she says, hold on 1 second. And so you sit there and you wait. You wait for the teacher to come and tell you the answer or give you the direction. And I find that a lot in our students, it's they feel confused. They're working, you feel confused, raise their hand, so to speak, ask a question, and then they wait for the answer. And they say, well, I can't do anything right now because I'm just confused. And it's this huge block in your brain. And so the idea of confusion, overwhelm is another emotion that makes you do this. And also the statement, I don't know. Those are the three things in our world. They are just removed. So when I woke up on November the 4th feeling confused, I was like, whoa. This isn't me. This isn't who I am. I don't talk like this. I don't think like this. Where is this coming from? And so I want to tell you a little bit about what I did to kind of break through this, because it took me about a week to get through this. And the reason I think this is so important is because I talk to women, female entrepreneurs all the time, and I can't tell you how often they will tell me that they are stuck, they are confused, and then they stay there for weeks, months, sometimes years. There are leads that I've talked to that are considering enrolling, and for literally months and months and months, they do not take action because they stay in this place of confusion. And when I felt it at first on that day, November 4th, I kind of got scared. I was like, oh no, this is what people feel, and this is what keeps them stuck. I've got to get out of this. And so I've set up this kind of framework. I want to tell you a little bit about what I did to get out of it, because it really is a beautiful framework that you can take action on immediately. So I'm going to get my Post-it board right here so that we can talk about this framework. I think it's really powerful. The first step is to normalize it. I was doing some journaling, which we're going to talk about journaling in just a second, but I was like, okay, I've had so much success. I've had so many breakthroughs. I've had so many wins. What on earth is happening? And I kind of started to remember and think about, okay, what other areas of life and in what other situations does this happen when it seems like there's a lot of success and then it gets even harder? And it actually came to me, was thinking about business owners that sell their businesses. They'll sell them for millions and millions and millions of dollars and hit this finish line. And what I've heard is that is when they begin some of the most hard, most depressive times of their life. I've also heard this about athletes, Olympic athletes that complete and they get the gold medal and they have all these wins, and then they experience a major kind of depressive episode. I know bodybuilders, they work really hard, they diet, they train, they have their bodybuilding show, and then they have to do something called a reverse diet, so they don't just kind of, scur off the train tracks way out of control. And what I've heard is that the reverse diet is so much more challenging than the process of getting to the point to step on stage. And so there's something to this, right? If this is a thing for multiple people who have success, this is a little bit normal. Why? Because once you reach a goal, there's a little kind of opportunity, a little window to be like, well, what do I work towards now? You are meant to work towards something. And when you don't have that anymore, you don't know which way to turn. In fact, thinking about 75 hard challenge, the word challenge, it actually means to duel, to fight. And I was thinking, why does it mean to fight? And honestly, it's your two identities, your kind of old self and your new self, fighting to see which one wins, right? So 75 hard challenge, you're doing all these activities that don't reflect your old self at all. And so when you are done with this challenge, you kind of have to look in the mirror and say, all right, who am I going to be? Now that the challenge is over, I'm